На чому ми закінчили? З того і продовжуємо. Прикольно сказано. Зараз буде, напевно, буде дуже багато діалогів. З тими пацієнтами говорити. Я думаю, це дуже важливо. Трошки в лор йдемо. Спати не може би. А, це може би і поспав. Може життя відновиться, якщо він спить. Так, ага, тут можна покращити щось. Так, нас 1200, якщо здоров'я добавить. Ага. Пас крові. Поки що це не може не розбухати. Це насправді непогано, я б не можу би. Це що робить? Ага, тоді. Здоровий. Має щось зробити? Ага. Я ще покращувати зброю.
William Bishop's blood is much more unstable than human blood and shows extensive mutation. But this is not what the sun is about to rise. I can feel it. I'll continue tomorrow night. I have so much time now.
Поспілкуємося з пацієнтами.
It's locked, all right.
Ну, не тільки. А, з нею ми вже спілкувалися. Так.
Time has lost its effect on me, but the suffering
Good evening,
continues.
sir. Can I help you?
Unless you're here to fix my face. No. I don't think you can help me.
I'm Dr. Reed. I've recently taken the position of head surgeon here. War injuries, am I right?
You guessed right, Doctor. German shell took my pretty little mug right off. But they still call me Thomas Elwood.
How close are you to Miss Horcroft? Are you aware that she thinks she is a vampire?
To wait for her next nibble is the best reason to stay here. Every time she approaches my bed, she treats me like something tasty. A normal person.
Aren't you afraid? She may hurt you if the game goes too far.
She's quite harmless, I can assure you. Her head's broken inside is all.
You do realize she's mentally disturbed. It's called the Cotard syndrome. She truly believes she's a vampire.
In her madness, she never refers to my scars. And frankly, if I could, I'd join her world. It's...
So do you let her bite you? You know that's not sanitary.
And why not? She's only supping a few drops of me blood. And the pain, it's real for once.
She could decide to bite less willing patients.
And it's another good reason for me to stay here, Doctor.
Where were you stationed, sir?
I really don't want to talk.
No offense. I was pushing too much. I served in France myself. I just wanted to know what...
You were an officer, weren't you?
How is your stay with us, Mr. Elwood?
Oh, it's bliss. I just escaped death in the trenches to be surrounded again by the moans of the dying.
Can I ask you precisely what...
It's the pain, sir.
Who is treating you? Is someone in particular looking after your case?
Nobody since the old and tired doctor spoke to me. Started to think I was forgotten about. Won't blame you.
You don't...
My face hurts so much more when I smile or cry.
Can I do anything?
Nurses gave me a bunch of pills.
Він доктор, а він всіх
Goodbye
питає, що
for
він має
now,
чим
Mr.
допомогти, і нічим їм не допомагає.
Every street
Просто
corner.
знає їхня історія, ну. Може, нові діалоги
Good
появляються в
evening,
неї.
Miss Howcroft. How are you tonight?
I need blood, Doctor. Warm, rich, vibrant blood.
Появилася нові. Вона принаймні. О.
Tell me, Thelma, why do you feel so attached to Mr. Elwood? Why him?
I'm not sure, Doctor.
Would you say you and Mr. Elwood are romantically involved?
No. No, Thomas is a delicate soul. Even though he disguises it. But I am not the woman he needs. No, for I am a vampire, Doctor.
Do you plan to make him a vampire too?
Of course not. How could I inflict my curse on anybody else?
Do you require my services, Miss Howcroft?
I have no need for your...
I'll leave you, mistress of the...
I wish I could be sick again. Feel my blood boil with fever.
Так, з вами я вже говорив.
Good evening, nurse.
Good evening, Doctor. I don't think we've been introduced yet. My name is Pippa Hawkins.
And I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. Dr. Swansea.
Well, it's a euphemism that your help will be appreciated, Doctor.
Якщо ми про неї мало знаємо.
How would you describe the situation at the Pembroke Hospital?
It's serious. The flu is wreaking havoc amongst the staff and patients. We are running out of everything.
You must get a hold of yourself, nurse.
Sorry, I'm exhausted. No one has any idea when this epidemic will be over.
Nurse Hawkins, the Spanish flu won't last forever. Even the Black Plague didn't kill everyone.
I wish I could believe you.
How long have you been a nurse?
Well, long enough to see that the epidemic is winning.
You'd be surprised.
Sorry, Doctor.
How
Or long enough.
You'd be How is the Pembroke staff coping with the epidemic?
Well, not well. Milton, the ambulance driver, is even more grumpy than usual, especially concerning doctors.
Why does Milton dislike doctors?
I don't know. Just ask him. But be warned. Milton...
Why is Milton grumpy on a daily basis? Is it just an act?
Milton's not the kind of man who's bothered about a bad reputation.
Мілтона можна побазарити, окей.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
Ти хто такий?
Good evening, nurse. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed, the new surgeon here at the Pembroke.
Dr. Swansea has already told us about you, sir. I'm Nurse Gwyneth Brannigan. Welcome to the Pembroke.
Did he really?
Мені
It's
ще
a good thing I
подобається,
wasn't
що на
hoping to
тій
keep a low profile.
лікарні нема
All
там
members of
одного
staff have
пацієнта,
already
що
read
там
about your
є
new
якийсь
blood
персонал,
transfusion technique.
якісь
Swansea
пацієнти,
made
хтось
sure
щось
of it.
ходить.
I see. Well, I'm
Живо
surprised,
виглядає.
but I suppose I'll just have to
Тепер,
deal with
знаєте, є
this
таке ж там.
unexpected notoriety.
Десь
You
там
must
один доктор
know,
ходить і все,
blood
далі
transfusions
щось
are
все одно
Dr.
все закрите.
Swansea's primary subject of research.
Тут такого нема. Так, тут ми з тобою, я поняв, так ще колись поговоримо.
I'm not familiar with all the...
Brilliant professionals, most of them. Dr. Swansea,
most of them. Is there a problem?
it would be inappropriate for me to speak.
Угу.
Nurse Brannigan, if you do know...
No, I may disagree.
Угу, ага. А не можу звати.
Is there anyone that's...
Well, I have never met someone as dedicated.
Why should his age be a problem?
I guess it's fair to say he's always pushing himself to the limits. He just doesn't.
How are things here?
Not good, to say the least. We're.
An invisible enemy. Quite a poetic term for a disease, especially from a nurse.
Sorry, Doctor. These last few weeks have been exhausting.
Do you think this hospital...
We are all volunteers here, and we're trying to hold fast, but how do we beat an invisible killer? Some nurses.
Goodbye, nurse. Call me if you need assistance.
Ну, тут лучше є. Так, ти мужик.
Good evening, sir.
So it is true. The famous Dr. Reed has joined us. I can't think of any better news during these terrible times.
Do we know each other?
Actually, yes. We met once before at the Rockefeller University in New York.
Dr. Tippett, yes, I remember. I was assisting Professor Carell in his research about...
He was also very confident about your future. And look at you now. Eminent...
You're exhausting yourself, Corcoran. Maybe you should think about preserving your strength.
No. We must keep on healing all those poor souls. We are the last rampart before chaos. Once more unto the breach.
You've nothing to prove, Dr. Tippett, to anybody.
I am perfectly fine, and I am not too...
What can you tell me about...
Some are really good, and others are not so good. But during this...
Any opinion about the management?
I don't always agree with Dr. Swansea's reserve, but I must admit he does all he can to keep...
Ah, yes, the burden of command. I was fed up with this concept while serving as a medical officer.
Don't get me wrong. Swansea's a good administrator. I just wish he would get up...
Tell me more about...
Nurse Brannigan is...
You really seem to admire her skills.
I'll go even further.
What is the Pembroke...
This hospital is not exactly the best of London. I'm sure you are used to working in...
It's more than enough. In any case, the person...
Don't be misled by appearances, Doc.
Goodbye, Dr. Tippett.
Треба вернутися до тої сестри. Я з тобою поговорю.
Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doc.
Why do you have such a mediocre reputation among your colleagues, Milton?
Fuck them. Nobody knows the horrors I've seen since working here. This city was sick long before the epidemic, Dr. Reed.
I know it's a difficult task, but correct me if I'm wrong. Is this not the job you are paid to do?
I've seen babies left to die while their brothers were properly fed. Underage girls and boys sold to all manner of perverts.
I'm sorry, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, exactly. We lack words.
Are you really smuggling weapons through the hospital?
And why not? I've already been attacked by patients, you know. And by...
But you're not defending yourself.
You keep people alive your own way, Doctor. I offer them another.
How is the situation around here?
You want to hear the situation is all right? It's fucking awful.
Правду матку рубає, ти чого? Так, але там було щось з докторів. Ага. Типа, у нього другий рівень, я понял.
Goodbye, Milton.
Треба прокачати. Тоді буду узнавати більше інформації, прокачати той. Гіпноз прокачати.
Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening, Doc.
Да, і нічого не помінялося.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
Так,
Good evening, Nurse
тоді
Hawkins.
звичайно.
Good evening.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
Spare your obedient slave.
I cannot enter.
Правда, то я поки що зайти не можу. Але там якась записка не цікава. Що з ним? Ці записки кілометрові, бляха.
Blood boil fever.
Good evening, Doctor. I believe we're going to be working together.
Dr. Reed. Dr. Swansea,
Thank you.
I am Thoreau Strickland. Dr. Thoreau Strickland. I'm a great admirer of your work, Dr. Reed.
Please, could you tell me something about yourself?
I'm a great admirer of your work concerning blood transfusion, Dr. Reed. I run my own experiments. I'm convinced it's the future.
I based my technique on my mentor's research. He helped me perfect my method. What is yours?
I'd rather not talk about it. For now, it's just theories and first approach. My process is purely experimental and unsuccessful.
As long as you're cautious and methodical, you may remain...
You're not the first one to warn me, but
What made you choose to be a doctor?
I'm not ashamed to admit you and your work have inspired me. I am honored to have the opportunity to...
You will obtain nothing from me by flattery, my young colleague.
Oh, I was not flattering you, sir. Not at all. Just clumsily expressing my sincere admiration.
What can you tell me about the Pembroke?
Well, it has always been an honor to work with Dr. Swansea. But with your...
You seem quite optimistic. It's a rare and...
I'm convinced that this epidemic is a test of endurance and dedication.
Questions remain about our capacity to resolve.
True, true.
Do you need help with anything in particular?
Well, yes, maybe. I'm waiting for a batch of products I ordered for my personal research, yet my supplier seems to have vanished.
Do you want me to play the errand boy for you?
Oh no, Dr. Reed. But if you went personally to his shop, what with your reputation and all, he wouldn't dare to refuse the products I need.
I see. Well, give me the address, for I may pass by.
Ну, якісь розслідування, о. Ага, ясно. Це все, що в лікарні, вони всі трохи зв'язані. Я поняв. Цікаво, цікаво.
Goodbye, Doctor.
What can I do for you, Doc?
Thank you.
Я з нею вже поговорив. Може, інший доктор?
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. I believe we're...
Reed? Yes, I've been informed about your arrival. I'm Waverly Ackroyd.
Does my arrival inconvenience you in some way, Dr. Ackroyd?
Let us just say that I don't particularly share Dr. Swansea's
It seems you have bad memory.
I refuse to see this industrial slaughter as scientific progress.
We can at least agree on something. I don't know what you've heard about.
I don't question your skills, Dr. Rick.
And what exactly is that?
I served in the war just like you.
Be careful what you insinuate, Doctor.
I only want you to admit you used those men to improve your theories.
This is ridiculous. My blood transfusion technique saved many lives.
You see? That is exactly what I hate about people like you. You avoid this kind of accusation instead of facing reality.
Tell me, Waverly, what do you think of Dr. Strickland's enthusiasm for his experimental research?
Strickland is playing with his patients' lives for pride and glory. Now that, sir, is unethical.
Are you thinking about something in particular?
Harvey Fiddick needs delicate surgery. I believe we should stick to the usual procedure, but my young colleague obviously disagrees.
And are you not afraid that your rivalry with Strickland may be blinding you?
Rivalry? I guess you could call it that. But I will never be childish enough to let my personal feelings affect my judgment.
Why do you wish to lead this surgery?
I strongly believe that Mr. Fiddick should not be butchered to test an unproven procedure.
Other people may say that's too conservative a point of view.
Conservative? And what are you going to say to Mr. Fiddick if he loses his arm because of the operation? Because that's what's going to happen if the surgery is a failure.
Дві точки зору.
Since your tenure in this hospital is longer than mine, perhaps
Де
you can
хоче
tell me
якусь
more
ризиковану
about this.
операцію, де
Let's just
можна
say I'm
рятувати.
tired of the carelessness
руку.
around me.
Оцей
I've
хоче
always
якусь
respected the
стандартну
skills of Dr.
операцію.
Swansea, but over time his enthusiasm has become displaced.
Carelessness? Exactly what are you talking about?
We're here to save lives. The people who trust us are not
I don't intend to run any radical experiments, Doctor. Even if I, as any good practitioner should, express an interest in pushing the...
Modern medical methods were created through audacity and ego. But there are...
If you have a problem with me, Dr. Ackroyd, please feel free to tell me.
Dr. Swansea has imposed your presence on this hospital without asking anyone's advice. The benefit of his position. But I don't agree with it.
I know we've never met before, but I believe this hospital could use all the help.
Oh, but I have heard about you, Dr. Reed. Of course, you can't say the same about...
Aren't you too old for such jealousy? It really won't do you any good, you know.
Don't be ridiculous, Dr. Reed. A simple glance is enough for me to know you have nothing for me to envy.
Okay.
Thank you for your time. We'll talk later.
I'm all right.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed.
I don't know if a third opinion is needed. Your colleagues are already arguing about my condition.
I see. Would you mind telling me more about your situation?
I'm Harvey Fiddick. All I want is to get me bloody arm fixed properly.
А, тут ті, що маємо операцію робити, той чувак. Рука перемотана. Якусь там операцію має там всі.
Tell me about the doctors who are arguing about your case.
Strickland and Ackroyd. They both want the best for me, but there's a lot of pride there. Doctors are no different from carpenters, it seems.
What do you mean?
I often had professional arguments with rivals on a building site. Difference is I disagreed about wooden nails, not flesh and bones.
Are you satisfied with your treatment here?
Well, it's clear that I've chosen a bad time to be injured. Forgive my bluntness, but you seem overwhelmed by cases of the flu.
I won't lie to you about it. I'm afraid we are.
Are you sure you don't want to operate yourself, Dr. Reed? I have the feeling you're very capable. And your colleagues seem to think so too.
In other circumstances, you would be right. But for now, I don't think I can take on the responsibility. My apologies. Tell me about yourself, Mr. Fiddick.
I'm just a regular guy waiting to get his arm fixed.
I was more curious about what...
I'm a carpenter. And a good one too. But that means I need both arms to feed my family, Dr. Reed.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick. I'll see you later.
I will not let you down, my boy.
Good evening, Mr. Goswick. How are you?
I'm okay.
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful, I'd rather not talk.
I'm sure you realize that...
Not really. Yes, maybe. But I don't want to.
How
So painful.
I have to go...
Good evening, sir.
Ну, вроді би я зі всіма поговорив. Ну, лише раз з ним.
Good evening.
And good evening to you, Dr. Reed.
Що змінилося? О,
Tell me more about your willingness to experiment with new medical techniques.
Harvey Fiddick is a patient suffering from a severe injury that could cripple him if not treated correctly. I'm convinced your blood transfusion technique could help him.
What is it you really want? To save him? Or to prove your point?
Fair question. I want nothing but to save my patient, Dr. Reed. Especially since I know Mr. Fiddick's story.
This personal involvement could also appear to be a lack of impartiality.
I agree. but that does not excuse Dr. Ackroyd's behavior.
Do you think keeping his distance was a mistake?
All I know is that I'm taking care of human beings with desires, hopes, and fears. Not some biological machine comprised of blood, bones, and flesh.
Tell me Mr. Fiddick's story.
Our first diagnosis was compromised because Mr. Fiddick lied to us about the real origin of his injury. He first claimed it was an accident.
But why would he hide such crucial information from us?
Because he is a proud father, ashamed of putting his children at risk because of his own negligence.
What do you think of Dr. Ackroyd's aversion to modern medical methods?
It's a shame he's so narrow-minded. Dr. Swansea taught me that science is about exploring uncharted territory. I'm convinced that's true.
With the influenza and all that's going on, you should put your differences aside, don't you think? Why is it so difficult to work together?
I believe that if Dr. Ackroyd had been the one to discover the transfusion process, he would be the first to recommend its use.
So you believe it's just a question of jealousy and pride?
Dr. Ackroyd is as proud as he is blinded by his obsolete concept of medical science.
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland. Good evening, Dr.
And good evening.
Якісь питання? Ні, нема.
Goodbye. Good evening, Mr.
Good evening, Doc.
Tell me about your injury, Harvey. Why do you feel so guilty about it?
My wife died because of me. And now I may lose everything because I've been careless enough to hurt myself. What an arsehole.
You can't hold yourself responsible for your injury, Mr. Fiddick. Unless you tried to hurt yourself.
Of course I didn't hurt myself. But I can't work until my arm is fixed. My children need to eat, Doctor.
How could your job be responsible for your wife's death?
I was working a double. She went out to bring me a hot meal and got caught in a German bomb raid.
Tell me more about
1915. I was in the army, building workshops for the Royal Flying Corps. Helen was happy I wasn't sent to the front.
What happened?
The Germans sent Zeppelins to bomb the construction site, but they missed their target. My wife was bringing my dinner when the bomb...
How are your children after losing their mother?
They were smaller then. The only good thing about this is my Helen didn't bring them with her that night.
I'm sorry for your loss.
I would like to say that she didn't suffer. Truth is, I have no idea. I just know that I'm all...
Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick. I'll see you later.
Ну, вроді би ми зі всіма поговорили. Тільки за тим доктором, але вони в кабінетах. Я ще не можу з ними говорити.
It's locked, all right.
Так, де мій кабінет?
Not now!
Записка про того з обгорівшим лицем. Як тут просто поспати? Ні, мені це не треба. Получається. Добре, це ми почнемо прокачувати пізніше.
If I'm to stay here until my research is complete, I'd better learn to hide my true nature from the mortals. But what about my thirst for blood? Yes, Nurse Crane? How can I help you?
I'm so sorry. I know Dr. Swansea wanted you to rest, but we have somewhat of a crisis.
A crisis, you say?
Our supply of antiseptics is nearly depleted. I was hoping there was another box up here, but...
What type of hospital are you running? No
You have been away too long, Doctor. With the war and now this epidemic, supply...
I may have a solution. In France, during the war, drugs shortage was a daily problem, and we had to use our wits to overcome the shortages.
However do you mean?
If combined correctly, certain household chemical products can be used in a pinch instead. Now, where's the hospital storeroom?
The storeroom? Fat chance. This is the Pembroke, and space is luxury we don't...
Perhaps I should look there first. Where is this morgue?
It's the large building behind the hospital. You'll need to go in the back door because it's been...
The abandoned morgue behind the hospital. A small door at the end.
Окей, ну чекайте.
Yes, Doctor.
Поговорю.
Why then do you...
At the Pembroke, we're always hands on deck.
Lack of sleep and the medical...
London's trenches start here at Pembroke Hospital. We are on the front line, make no mistake.
Lack of sleep.
London's...
Чисто
Your dedication to the
частина
Pembroke
буде
does you
про...
credit, Nurse Crane, but when do you
Проходження
sleep?
буде про діалоги.
We staff get...
Діалоги.
Exactly how bad is the supply?
It really depends.
Please could...
It's the large...
That's all for...
Так, добре. Переписки завдання і морги, тут все. Так, зайти в сад за... Це сад чи це не сад? На сад не похож. понял, це морг. Чи ні? А, це... Ще один вхід.
It's locked, all right. Scowl voices in the garden. I should investigate. If they were to find somebody.
Блін. Що ж ти не пив? Вампіри. Як тут зброю міняти? О, блін. Ага. А, це десь... Це я себе лікую.
So, Mr. Hooks and Nurse Hawkins are an item. Those two have hidden their affections well.
Ага. Медсестра і той лікар. Так, давайте розберемося з цією картою. Це значить той. А, це не може ходити, по-моєму, на Б. Так, давайте я на цьому частину закінчу. Називаємо її діалоги, діалоги, діалоги. Почнемо вже наступну змору. Подивимося, що до чого. Бо я думаю, ми тут не швидко закінчимо. Дякую за перегляд. Побачимося в наступній частині проходження.